The Legend of Zelda is a series spanning countless games. Okay, maybe not that many, but with so many games, you're bound to have a favorite. For years, nobody knew what the connection between the player and their favorite Zelda game was. Fortunately for us, modern-day science is the answer, so we can use that science to figure out what your favorite Zelda game says about you. Hand-holding, 3 dimensions, text that doesn't confuse you at every step? You don't need all of that. An old man saying it's dangerous to go alone is what's best for you. You didn't understand Zelda until they added grinding and experience points. You should probably just stick to Dragon Quest instead. You are the most likely to pick a fight with the Ocarina of Time fan. Your Zelda game is the Zelda game, and nothing will ever compare to it. If you grew up playing this game, Marin was probably your fantasy crush, which is impressive because you mostly see her as a 16x16 pixel sprite. 20 years later though, yeah, I can see it. Shame she's fiction even in the fiction, huh? You probably get mad that people compare these games to Pokemon releases, because unlike Pokemon, these are 2 games that are actually different. You're also mad at me for combining them into one entry. Whether you like ages or seasons more can come down to one of 2 things: your preference in fancy women, or your preference in dungeon difficulty. The most likely to get into fights with practically anyone on this list, but especially people whose favorite is Twilight Princess. Ocarina of Time to you is not just the best Zelda game, but the best game of all time, which means you probably played it when you were younger, and you're definitely starting to get on in age. You were probably an Ocarina of Time fan. Over time, you matured a bit, and you learned that the game isn't the best game of all time, even if it's still an amazing one. It can't be the best game of all time because that title rightfully belongs to Majora's Mask. And yet, you can't bring yourself to fight for that, because you just know it's not for everyone. And that's fine. You are the Zelda fan most likely to leave others alone, except for Majora's Mask 3D fans. You will never stop picking fights with them. You got introduced to Majora's Mask much later on and decided you don't mind how watered down the game is. The improved graphics are everything to you. You probably eat cereal with water as well. Ocarina of Time 3D fans just feel sorry for you. Hookshotting nothingness to open a door, lighting a fire beyond a wall, these are things that come completely natural to you. Nobody understands you. The other half of Ocarina of Time fans mellowing out over time. Instead of becoming a Majora's Mask fan over time, you just started enjoying it more quietly, moving over to Ocarina of Time 3D because it looks a little nicer and it plays functionally the same. Honestly, good for you. You grew up with Twilight Princess. You don't mind the extreme linearity and empty overworld because horseback riding is so cool and the theming of the game is amazing. The final battle against Ganondorf is so amazing to you that it doesn't even bother you that he effectively shows up at the 11th hour and hijacks the plot. Or you could just be into Midna, and as long as it's not in her imp form, I can respect the hell out of that. You are really trying to make sure that people know you own a Wii U. You do not exist. I have literally not met a single person in my life who has said this is their favorite game. Not even as a joke. On the internet. Vaati is your favorite villain in the series. You absolutely love cute things and you haven't forgotten about the Picori being a thing in the Zelda series. You're the most easygoing Zelda fan on this list, but you also worry that the Picori are dead in Breath of the Wild. The Wind Waker fan presents themselves as innocent, simply having an affection towards the cartoony art style and presentation. You like how the game doesn't keep you grounded to the plot and instead pretty much just lets you go wherever. Twilight Princess fans are your natural enemy, but since you're not outright picking a fight, everything just manifests in backhanded compliments. The Wind Waker fan, but your screen settings are just way too bright. We get it, you grew up having friends and way more Game Boy Advance units and link cables than one kid would ever need. Not everyone had a $20 a week allowance, okay? You're the first to defend the touchscreen controls in the Temple of the Ocean King. Linebeck is your favorite Zelda companion character. Whenever Zelda puzzles come up, you'll always bring up the one where the answer was to close your DS. Motion controls don't bother you. The most likely person to see a video about the Master Sword or Zelda timeline and loudly exclaim where they're wrong and should do more research. Even though the timeline in Hyrule Historia is a mess and still only loosely connects concepts together, it's your Bible because without the timeline, Skyward Sword has no real reason to exist. You don't need to have a good story to have fun. All you need is a pretty well-made gameplay loop, a nice open world, and a character simultaneously made out of paper mache and Intendium. Indestructible and powerful, but also dies the second you so much sneeze on him. The most likely person to have clicked on this video. Hi there! Subscribe for more and comment if you were the Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom fan. No matter which Hyrule Warriors we're talking about, you don't mind different gameplay and bad storytelling. You're just so much of a Zelda fan that you'll buy anything that lets you play as other characters. You still want Linkle in the main series.
Hop! Yup! Including...
No! You blew your lungs out trying to play the flute on your DS. Your screens are irreparably stained with your spit as a result. Somehow, you also think there's nothing wrong with the touch controls. I'll check back with you when the next game comes out in 7 years. I'm sure you'll stand by your decision by then.
Zelda, Duke Onkled is under attack by the evil forces of Ganon. I'm going to Gamelon to aid him. I'll take a Triforce of Courage to protect me.
I promise you, if the games had better controls, they would be fine. You are such a memer that you deluded yourself into thinking these awful games are actually amazing for their time. Congratulations. Oh look, the kid who had 4 GBAs in France growing up now has enough money to buy Triforce Heroes for several of his friends as well. God, what a jerk. Wait, where'd your third friend go? You love A Link to the Past, but to you, newer is always better, as long as they're the 2D games. And that's it! That is every Zelda game. Every single one. I didn't miss any. Yep. This is all, of course, scientifically proven, but let me know how accurate science was in the comments anyway. A special thanks to my supporters on Patreon and the VIP squad here on YouTube, which you can join for as little as €1 a month. And I hope to see you next time. Have a wonderful day and maybe subscribe. Bye!